Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from March 5th until March 12th as we are moving through an enchanting mystical Pisces season. And over this next week, the energies are actually quite inspiring and creative. There isn't a lot going on in the cosmos, which is a beautiful gift considering that we are in the build-up period to the first eclipse of 2025 on March 13th and 14th. Now, if you'll recall, we had the Pisces new moon on February 27th, which initiated this eclipse season because it was that new moon at 9 degrees 40 minutes of Pisces that was bringing your attention to what you are completing, moving away from, what you have healed, how you've spiritually grown, so that you can transition into the new that will be coming in powerfully, especially with the second eclipse on March 29th at 9 degrees of Aries. So we're in a cycle here of expanding awareness around what you are understanding about yourself, your journey, who you are now, and the changes that are necessary in order to move ahead on your best and highest next path. So that's some of the overarching energy at this time. In next Wednesday's show, we will really dig in to the Virgo Lunar Eclipse even more as it's bringing your attention to what is working and what is not working. So understand that the Virgo Lunar Eclipse is where you're meant to be very honest with yourself about what is not bringing about the results you want or desire. I have a video for you on YouTube that will be available Friday, March 7th, discussing this Virgo lunar eclipse energy even more. So this week, stay aware of what your understanding is not serving you, is not supporting you, and where you are responsible for making the changes that are necessary and needed. Now, before I dive into the transiting aspects of this week, I wanted to touch on two things. The first is I want to offer a quick correction and addition to the Venus retrograde podcast I did for you on Monday, March 3rd, where we discussed the Venus retrograde journey part 2, as she is now retrograde for 6 weeks and embarking on a very pivotal transformational experience. After that show went live, I'm so sorry, I forgot one transit that I needed to insert that is actually occurring this week. She's going to have a conjunction to Mercury on March 11th at 8 degrees 47 minutes of Aries. So she's stationed retrograde March 1st. And then I said she didn't have any transiting aspects for 3 weeks. So I need to correct myself. I'm sorry. I missed that she is conjunct Mercury March 11th, where she receives a message from Mercury. And please note that this conjunction is near the upcoming solar eclipse point, because 9 degrees of Aries is where that solar eclipse is occurring, which is very close to where this conjunction between Venus retrograde and Mercury is happening on March 11th. And after she has that conjunction to Mercury, then she travels retrograde and will meet up with Pluto through a sextile on March 21st. This is her second sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, and she will have another one, a third one, on May 6th, right after Pluto stations retrograde. So we'll get to that in part 3 of the Venus retrograde journey. But this leads me to the second point I wanted to add in, because some of you had questions about, well, how is this particular Venus retrograde about beginnings when she's retrograde? Yes, good point. And let me explain that and break that down a little bit more, because this Venus retrograde is very different for a number of reasons. First of all, it's occurring across the ending and beginning points of the full zodiac wheel, signaling that big completions are happening with this Venus energy, especially as she will interact with Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces, the North Node in the late degrees of Pisces. So she's moving through significant endings here that are meant to be occurring. They're right on time. And then simultaneously, she has powerful beginning points because the Venus star point is when that retrograde Venus is conjunct the Sun, which happens for every Venus retrograde phase, and it's occurring at 2 degrees of Aries, which is right there near the beginning degree points of Aries. So Aries starts at 0 degrees, right? 0, 1, 2, the very beginning of the zodiac, which is about creation, planting seeds of what you want to initiate, develop, and grow. So the intentionality here is really strong when there's a Venus star point near the very beginning of the zodiac wheel. And then to add in just that extra boost of transformation, the energy is sextile Pluto in the new territory of 3 degrees of Aquarius. And Pluto brings in something very important, powerful, and transformative that you're meant to be aware of. And so this particular Venus retrograde supports what you're ready to shift and change to do differently. If you have relationship habits or patterns that you've been working through, you've been healing, that Chiron in Aries has been showing you what is not supporting you and what you're ready to do from a new place within your core self, there is a focus here on how you're ready to begin again in an area of life related to Aries, the sense of self, that is asking you to take full ownership of the choices, decisions, and actions you now want to practice and embody. So this Venus retrograde is bringing your attention to how you are ready to improve yourself from a new place of healed wholeness, self-love, self-acceptance, how you've been aware of what's not working for you, of what no longer resonates, what isn't truly in alignment. And this Venus retrograde is showing you that a new start is coming in, especially into your consciousness, into your energy field that supports the work you've been doing, trusting, waiting on, maybe divine timing. Maybe you're looking to make some changes in your ability to create a life you love or create something, whether that is physical or tangible. Maybe you're ready to approach your finances in a new way with this strong Venus reset. Maybe there are new dynamics with the feminine, with women, that you're ready to approach differently, since Venus is the feminine in astrological archetypes. There is a powerful shift here to move yourself forward, to improve who you are with love for yourself, love of what you've been through, what you've experienced, what you've learned about who you are, and to use it in a way that now creates new experiences and results based on this birthing energy. So that's why this particular Venus retrograde supports these new beginnings and new starts, which are meant to move slowly. By the way, they're not meant to rush out the gate and accelerate at 100 miles per hour. And keep in mind, if that's how you've been creating your life, or if that's a pattern you have, that would be worth looking at. What's that about? If the energy has been too impulsive, too impetuous, too selfish, these are all lower Aries expressions. What are you reprogramming more consciously so that you approach it now with greater trust in yourself and trust in the process without needing that immediate gratification? And of course, this would apply to those who have planets or points in Aries, since that's where the Venus retrograde is occurring. And then also as it goes back into Pisces, if you have planets or points here in the late degrees of Pisces, it's also working with you more deeply to trust that it's okay to let go, especially if you've been lost in confusion, uncertain, feeling powerless or overwhelmed. The Venus retrograde is then going to take you forward into a new start once she returns to Aries in May. So the unfolding here is not necessarily quick, but it's what the energy is supporting in our own development process. Every Venus retrograde is different. Every Venus star point is different. So I'm grateful that there have been these questions and inquiries, because this helps us understand how this one is supporting you in a new start and a new beginning based on what you truly desire and want now that you've perhaps never had before in your life, which is part of that sextile to Pluto. And Venus had that first sextile to Pluto February 7th. So February 7th, March 21st, and May 6th are the exact dates for Venus moving through that Plutonic evolutionary journey. And all of this is relevant this week. So it does apply to the energies of right now, and I hope clarifies a bit more about the significance of this Venus retrograde. Now, as I mentioned, the energy this week is supportive of creative developments, fresh insights, and listening to the changes that you're ready to make. I feel that we are receiving a lot of downloads and insights from Pluto in Aquarius right now around the changes at hand, where we're going, what matters on your path, where the shifts are going to show up. On March 5th, this Mercury in Aries sextiles Pluto in Aquarius at 3 degrees, which can help with understanding matters at hand on a deeper level, supportive communications, inspiring ideas, making plans, and focusing on a new endeavor are all highlighted because this is forward-moving energy here. Now, do keep in mind that we have Mercury stationing retrograde the middle of March, March 15th. And Mercury is in his retrograde shadow territory right now. So whatever ideas are coming up, just know that you'll need more time to let them marinate, even if that Mercury in Aries will want to do it now and get the ball rolling. This reiterates the Venus retrograde themes of slowing it down, sitting with it, considering it more thoughtfully, and also detaching, which is what Pluto in Aquarius is supporting us with. Looking at the bigger picture, where it isn't just about the immediate outcome or how it affects you. How does it affect others? How could this play out? Where could this go? What could this lead to? So there is a necessity here with Pluto in Aquarius to think about the long term, but through the lens of openness and possibilities, because Aquarius is where we can allow things to happen out of the blue. Those shocks and surprises can arrive. Things that we thought were linear can be quite quantum in Aquarius. This can help with mental expansion as well. Now on March 7th, that Sun in Pisces trines Mars in Cancer, still at 17 degrees. Mars has been hanging out at that degree point where he's stationed direct for a number of weeks, gathering his strength to swim forward back to shore after being in the Cancer emotional waters. The trine from the Sun in Pisces is loving, emotionally supportive. He gets a boost of energy from the Sun in Pisces and a new sense of himself, of who he is now, of what he's realizing about his internal emotional world, perhaps even shedding some light on what that Mars retrograde has been bringing up for him that he didn't want to look at before. Now that Sun is shining consciousness onto his own personal sense of self. And I feel too that these could be messages from the higher realms, from your higher self. They could certainly be coming through the dream state. And I feel that during this particular Pisces season, our dreams are very active because we are interacting with so many realms and so many dimensions when we go into that sleep state that it's bringing up more that our brain waves are connecting to. It feels like we are actually calling in a lot more messages, timelines, and dimensional experiences during Pisces season. This could be past life recall memories. Of course, there is no past life. It's simply another timeline that we identify in the past. But this could be something that shows you what you're working towards. The sun trining Mars is supportive, invigorating, energizing at an emotional level. So there could be a burst of what you really want now, and a sense that, yes, I'm moving towards this because I understand more of who I am and what I need. So this energy will be exact on Friday, March 7th at 17 degrees. Then we have a few days over the weekend and into early next week where the only transiting energies that are occurring is with the moon. The moon will be in Cancer and then enters Leo on Sunday, March 9th. As you know, if you're a regular listener, I don't include the lunar aspects simply because there are so many of them, but you could be tracking where the moon is in your own chart through the lunar calendar, as the moon is highlighting your daily energy, what you're feeling, and what is working with you more personally as the moon moves through the houses in your chart. So we have a few quieter days where there are no transiting aspects between the planets. And then on March 11th is when that Mercury is conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries at 8 degrees 47 minutes. Typically, this would be a fast-moving aspect, but it's actually a little bit slower since Venus is retrograde and Mercury is slowing down to station retrograde a few days later on March 15th. So when Mercury is conjunct a retrograde Venus, he's bringing her a message, something for her to look at or understand. This could be through an interaction, a conversation, an email, a text. But the interesting theme here is that, again, it's occurring near that Aries solar eclipse point, which will be at 9 degrees on March 29th. And Venus and Mercury are going to be traveling together back through the early degrees of Aries into Pisces. So whatever starts or whatever comes through here on the 11th is going to stay for a while. And it also highlights a theme that's going to gain strength with that Aries solar eclipse. So eyes open and stay aware of what shows up on March 11th, because it's going to highlight the new beginnings associated with the Aries solar eclipse. So it's always important to take note of where the universe is accentuating certain degree points in your chart. I would recommend identifying where you have 8, 9, 10, 11 degrees of Aries in your chart, because that's where there's a lot of focus at this time, and it's signaling that rebirth, the new creations. Perhaps this is new people, new projects, new adventures, new endeavors. This is where the new is happening for you in your life. Again, 8 degrees to 11 degrees of Aries is a focal point of energy here in March, since that's where the Venus station retrograde occurred, Mercury stationing retrograde, and then the Aries solar eclipse. The house where you have 8 degrees to 11 degrees of Aries is where there is new energy coming into your world, is where the new starts are showing up, and the universe is saying, hey, make room, keep the door unlocked, allow something fresh and new to arrive, and stay open to the possibilities of it all. This could even be some kind of new awareness in your sense of self. It's not going to be something physical for everyone, but it could be a new sense of what you want, what is inspiring you, the new parts of yourself you're being guided to fully accept and love, and then own it in a way that moves you forward with these Aries new beginning points. For example, you could realize, I'm no longer that version of myself anymore. I'm understanding more of who I really want to be and what matters to me in my journey right now. There could be a shift in what you want to create next in your life, how you want to spend your free time, if there's a new exercise regime you want to try, if there's a new hobby or something else that would be really good for you. So yes, this could feel quite internal because it's personal, but this is where you're meant to meet the universe as the new comes in. And it's also where the new will continue to arrive because of that upcoming Aries solar eclipse on March 29th at 9 degrees. So to sum up, on March 11th, when Mercury is conjunct this Venus retrograde at nearly 9 degrees of Aries, a message comes through, a hint, an insight, a communication about what that change is and what that new development could be. Then the next day on March 12th, the sun is conjunct Saturn in Pisces at 22 degrees. Now, this is a day where we need to be aware of responsibility, commitments, and reality. The sun conjunct Saturn at 22 degrees is new territory for this Saturn in Pisces. Previously, Saturn only got to 19 degrees of Pisces. So now Saturn is bringing our attention to new matters in our world that we need to look at and realistically assess, is this working? Do I want this? Do I need this? And because it's in Pisces, the message is most likely no. You've got to finalize this, complete it, move away from it. Maybe there's something you've been procrastinating on or avoiding. And here comes Saturn bringing it front and center to that conjunction with the sun, shining a torchlight on it and saying, please get this done so that it can be over, so you can finalize it and you can move on. You know, the final degrees of Pisces can be like the very back of the junk drawer, where you just keep pushing something away, pushing it off. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to look at this right now. It'll take care of itself later. And here comes Saturn saying, actually, now's the time. The deadline's approaching. And if you don't take this on or finish it up, there would be consequences, which is how Saturn operates. And or it would stay with you in the next cycle, which means you would carry the karma forward. Because whatever we don't complete, especially in a Saturn 30-year cycle, it then can show up in the next 30-year cycle as what has been unfinished. So see this as an opportunity to close out something that you don't want to deal with in the next cycle. And part of the Saturn in Pisces journey is being in that responsible, sovereign energy of, I can handle this. I will complete this. I will finish this up, because the energy of it is not going to be needed in the next cycle or going forward. Wherever you have Saturn in Pisces transiting in your chart right now, whichever house that Saturn in Pisces is moving through is bringing your attention to what has been created and developed over the past 30 years and asking you to assess, is this really still true for you? Do you want this? What have you learned from this? How have you grown? How have you spiritually ascended and become energetically wiser? Saturn wants us to be wiser, more discerning, more disciplined, and to be owning our self-respect. This is where we live with integrity. And in Pisces, it's the integrity that only you might know. It's not on full display. It's not out there in the ways that others might acknowledge it or see it. So what are you recognizing in yourself that the Sun conjunct Saturn is highlighting about your own growth, your own levels of mastery and responsibility, and you're being guided here to stand strong in your personal integrity and declare, does this stay or does this go? What do I need to change because I understand the energy isn't needed in the next cycle? And that's another way to look at whatever comes up here around March 12th, is that you're making a choice based on whether or not it aligns with your future self. And again, most often it does not. And so Saturn in Pisces is clearing out what you're done and over with. And so this could be challenges. This could be a day where you have to make a hard decision. You have to say no when previously you've said yes. You feel like maybe you're letting someone down. You're stepping away from something that you thought you wanted, and now you're realizing you don't have the energy or time for it. Saturn is about our time-based commitments, how much you can do in a day, and do it well, do it successfully. So contracts can be canceled. Terms might be changed. Deadlines can shift. And this can be part of that disappointment with the Sun conjunct Saturn in Pisces. The energy can feel constricted and compressed. The Sun conjunct Saturn is also where we need to stand on our own, do something on our own. And so loneliness can be a part of this energy as well. Feeling lonely, sensing parts of your life that are empty or there's a void. And the energy that I feel is coming in around that is it can give you a message around what you need and want next. So that can be an overlap, especially in regards to what I mentioned earlier about the Aries bringing in the new, is that you could understand, I don't have this in my life, whatever it might be. I don't feel fulfilled here. I don't feel that this is the best or that this is really what I want. And it can steer you in a new direction of what do you want to create next? What would be a better fit and what would help with being in your power with your creation abilities? Because the strong Pisces influence is where the energy can sink and feel powerless. And it can bring up old habits or patterns that I feel directly relate to age of Pisces lifetimes, where we weren't in our full creator abilities. So we were in a state of, oh, this is happening to me. The blame can be strong, the self-pity, the victim consciousness, feeling lost, feeling stuck. And it's part of a cycle. And the cycle is supposed to move forward. So even if you have a day that feels really low and you're experiencing melancholy, loss, depression, wondering what to do next, well, that could be an invitation from your higher self to feel what you're feeling. Absolutely own it and acknowledge it as this is just the cycle I'm moving through. It's not going to stay this way forever. I do want to note that it could be very important to seek professional help or guidance if you need to, if this is an extended experience for you, such as being in depression for an extended amount of time, and to know that others can support you and want to support you. But part of the energetics here is to not only feel what you feel and own it, but to know that it's going to also move forward into that new awareness of what can I do differently? What do I want next? What would be good for me? And that when the cycle shifts and the time arrives, you will have an understanding of what that new could be based on how you're willing to grow and transition. So what feels like a Pisces loss is preparing you for the fiery confidence of Aries to understand what you want to now manifest and create next. And be ready to declare it to the universe. Declare it in a way that affirms who you are, what you've learned, what you've come to understand about yourself, and see yourself as powerful in all phases of your journey. Now that energy again is going to come in strong as we move into Aries season, starting with the Aries equinox on March 20th. So we're not quite there yet. And I want to say that honestly, in case you aren't really feeling that and you're more in these Pisces realms of the energy being very uncertain and fluctuating. There's a lot of inconsistency as well with the strong Pisces influence. And after the sun is conjunct Saturn at 22 degrees of Pisces on March 12th, we're going to have that Virgo Lunar Eclipse the next day, March 13th. And then the sun will continue on and interact with Uranus, the North Node, and Neptune. So I'll talk about that next Wednesday. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here because it's important to honor exactly where we're at in the moment, to be in the present with a deep connection to what we're feeling and what we're experiencing, but to know and remember that nothing lasts forever and the energies are changing in such dynamic ways right now that you might surprise yourself with how quickly something falls away or moves off of you and you feel that it's over and complete, because that is part of this big Pisces energy as well. Now, if we look at this in the physical world, the strong Pisces energies of the Sun, Saturn, North Node, and Neptune, all in Pisces, signals that we're going to be experiencing even more ocean movements. Pisces is connected to the ocean. This involves flooding and the ice melting from the depths of winter. That's part of the transition here from winter into spring. So the ice melt will probably be quite strong this year. The astrology suggests we're going to have severe storms throughout 2025. And that does include right now in Pisces season. It also will be the case in the second half of this year, September, October, November, because we're going to have Saturn and Neptune in Pisces again. This could be that we're having historic weather experiences, ones that we've never had before. They are more extreme, more dangerous, and potentially more catastrophic, especially when we pull in the influences of artificial weather events and the ongoing experiments with weather. With strong Pisces influences, it's also important to focus on the higher vibrations of Pisces, to focus on love, joy, compassion, empathy, to be aware of how that is one way we can influence the collective consciousness with these higher frequencies, to focus on joyful developments, peaceful progress, and simply filling up your aura and energy field with what lifts your spirits is important at this time, to rise above any of the division, separation, anger, fighting, to go up into unity consciousness and remember that we are all in this together. We are all on this planet together, and that when we join in those higher frequencies, that has an effect on the collective, and that allows us to be in our powerful creator abilities without being simply reactive or pawns in another energy system. Be in your power. Choose the reality you want to create. Choose the reality that you want to experience. Be in a place of, this is what I want for myself. This is how I want to show up on the planet right now. This is where my energy goes. This is what I'm available for. I'm not available for certain arguments or petty fights. I'm not available for that. I'm available to be in my creator power, to live a life that brings me joy, whatever might be happening on the planet, especially if you are fully aware of all the dynamics and shifts and division and separation. That doesn't mean you have to participate at that level. Require more of yourself. That's the kind of leadership that the planet needs. It needs to be aware of what's happening. It's not about disassociating or ignoring or denying. It's about being in acceptance of, okay, this is maybe how things are showing up or how I'm perceiving it through my lens, but I'm going to go further and higher and be in an energy field that is more conscious and aware of my power. And this is also how we elevate the Pisces energies, to ensure that we're showing up from a place of loving kindness for what is and for each other, that also benefits humanity and benefits the collective consciousness. We need to be in that place of empowerment. Otherwise, we just keep repeating patterns and cycles that have been ongoing for centuries on the planet. So if you are really desiring to have a new experience in your reality, it's your responsibility to be living that and creating that daily. And that's one of the best choices you can make for not only yourself, but for the collective at this time. And that's also where the energy instantly lifts, and you could feel a beautiful shift in yourself, as well as a timeline shift into new experiences that you're now ready to call in. So go higher in these Pisces energies. Be a master, be a spiritual master who is assisting with the ascension of energies on the planet. And be conscious around what you direct energy to, what you invest in, and how you're choosing to live each day. Pisces season continues to kick up next week, as I said, where we will have the Virgo Lunar Eclipse on March 13th and 14th. Mercury stations retrograde March 15th, and the sun will complete its journey in Pisces. Eclipse season is where the energies are activated and more elevated. It's also where we can grow exponentially. So you want to look at 24 degrees of Virgo in your chart, as this is where you're going to see what is not working for you anymore, what you've outgrown, what you're ready to move away from, and where you're ready to make changes that better serve you now. And as I mentioned, I have videos for you on YouTube discussing the Virgo lunar eclipse even more. 2 more things to share with you before I close out today's podcast. First, I'd like to thank the Scientific and Medical Network in the UK for having me, an astrologer, as a guest in their weekly chats and gatherings. It was wonderful to connect with so many of you and to discuss astrology through this intellectual lens. It's also exciting how astrology is being acknowledged and at least invited into a conversation around our consciousness and cognitive growth. And secondly, I am excited to share with you that I am now hosting live monthly astrology gatherings live with you once a month, discussing the energies of the month. This will include conversation around the big transits of each month, and it's not information that I'm sharing elsewhere. This is going to be exclusive content, as well as channeled insights and energy exercises that we do together in the community environment in order to support what's needed on the planet now, as well as anything else that is coming through about how you can make the most of each month. I'm excited to share with you what I've already been receiving about the eclipses, the Virgo and Aries eclipses. We'll be talking about that on Friday, March 7th. So yes, I know it's coming up soon. And if you're on my email list, you got the invitation first, but there's still some spots available if you would like to join on Friday, March 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 9 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. GMT time, and 6 p.m. Central European Time. Of course, please check your local time zone. You might not be available Friday during the day, but a replay will be available for you to watch over the weekend. And I also have life circumstances I have to work around. Like I have a full stop every day to pick up my son from school. I have soccer things now on the weekends. So I'm also working around my calendar to make this fit, and it's tricky to get it to work for every time zone. But again, if you can't be there live, I hope that you can enjoy the replay, connect to the energy, and just see all the beautiful souls who are here working with the astrological transits of this time, and to know that you're not alone. There's so many great people in the world who are here to connect through astrology, and I'm excited to provide a place for our regular gatherings to occur. And if you can't make this one on Friday, March 7th, the next one will be available on Friday, April 11th. So wishing you a beautiful week ahead as we move through these floaty, creative Pisces energies. And I look forward to connecting with you every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll connect with you again soon.